Hey everybody, it's Eric from epautos.com, your Libertarian car guy, and I thought I'd do a little driving monologue about the 2019 Ford Fusion Energi. The Energi is the plug-in version of the Ford Fusion Hybrid, and plug-ins are sort of a band-aid or a stopgap. Well, that's probably not a nice way to put it, but they're a way to deal with the two inherent problems that still gimp electric cars for those who like electric cars. And those two gimps are, of course, the relatively short range and the long recharge times. Now, the range has been getting better, I will concede that, but it's still nowhere near the range of regular cars, non-hybrid cars, and hybrid cars. And the real problem, though, is the recharge time. The best case scenario is about 30 to 45 minutes, and that's if you can find a high volt, 240 volt fast charger. And I always put that in air quotes because I think it's pretty funny to call it fast, given that it takes a minimum of 30 to 45 minutes to recover a partial charge, not a full charge, but a partial charge, using the so-called fast charger. Whereas, as everybody knows, you can gas up a standard car in less than 5 minutes and be back on your way. You can also gas up a plug-in hybrid, and that is the problem fixer. That is what bridges the gap between the electric car and the conventional car. You have the ability to plug this thing in so that you can juice up the batteries via either form of recharging, the standard 120 volt outlet or the fast charger. But if you haven't got time, if it's inconvenient, or if you have driven beyond the range of the batteries, which in this case is about 20-25 miles, it's up about 20% from last year, you can keep on driving. That's the cool thing. You're not hobbled by range anxiety. You don't have to worry, oh my gosh, I'm about to run out of charge. I gotta find a place to charge. You can just keep on driving. So that's pretty good. The downside is that unless you do drive these things as electric cars, and that means within the radius of action of where they can travel on just the batteries, which again in this case is about 25 miles, you wind up driving on the gas engine. And when you drive on the gas engine, I'll show you right here, you can probably see the little mileage meter. I've been driving around for about a week now. You'll get about 37 or 38 miles per gallon on average, and that is pretty good. I'm not slamming that. This is a large car. 37, 38 miles per gallon on average is good. The problem is that the cost of the plug-in hybrid is pretty high. This thing starts a little bit over $33,000. The regular Fusion non-hybrid is about $22,000. Now granted, you get a few more niceties in this thing than you do in the base Fusion, but nonetheless, the bottom line is that this thing costs about $11,000 more. And the only way you're going to make that back in terms of fuel savings is if you drive this thing a good part of the time as an electric car using the batteries. And in this case, that restricts you to about 25 miles of action. For me, it wouldn't work out so well. Right now I'm driving from my place out in the woods down to the little coffee joint where I work, and it's about 30 miles. And I found that I can get close to the coffee shop, not quite there, but close to it, on the electricity side of the hybrid powertrain before the gas engine cuts in to keep me going and to supplement the battery. And then once I'm there, of course, unless I have a way to plug in, which I really don't, there's no convenient place to plug in, I have to drive back entirely on the gas engine. So really it's about 50%, or probably about 60% of the time I'm driving on the gas engine and about 40% on the electric side. And that's not optimal. Now, some plug-ins do better. The Chevy Volt, which is, I'd say, a rival to this, it's a smaller car, has a much tighter back seat, but nonetheless, it's similar in general respects. It also is a plug-in hybrid, carries around its gas engine as a generator more so than a motive source. The generator, the gas engine comes on when the batteries run low to recharge the batteries primarily. But anyway, the point is, that car, and I've driven that, and I have a review of it up at epautos.com, can go a little over 50 miles on just the battery side of the powertrain. And I've remember driving it and was able to make it down to the coffee shop and almost all the way back without the gas engine cutting on. In that case, that one's more economical. Now, bottom line, again, it depends on the type of driving that you do. Something like this Fusion Energi might make sense to you. It might make more sense than the Volt if you have a shorter trip, for example, if you're able to recharge where you get in. And in particular, if you want a bigger car that has a bigger back seat. This is a much more realistic family car than the Volt. The Volt really is more of a commuter car. Now, the other alternative, of course, is a pure electric car. And the car that I guess this thing compares most to as far as electric cars is the Tesla Model 3. That one starts at $35,000, which is about $2,000, maybe $2,500 more than the base price of this Energi, but it isn't a purely electric car. On the downside, it only goes about 150 miles. That's the base Tesla 3. And of course, you're stuck with that recharge problem again. So there are all kinds of pros and cons with these things. And you really have to think carefully about it, in my opinion, before you come to a decision about them. If your criteria is chiefly which one of these things is going to save me money in the long haul, you got to factor how much you're going to pay for it up front, what the upfront cost is, as well as the cost of fuel. That's important. You really need to take the whole picture into account before you do that. Anyway, I'm going to have a more detailed review up at epautos.com, the net's best libertarian gearhead site. There's also a rant up there right now about this Obamacare business. I got a letter the other day from the IRS for not having had health insurance last year. I got divorced last year, don't have health insurance now, can't afford health insurance now, so I didn't pay for it. So I got a shared responsibility payment bill from the IRS. My understanding is they can't make you pay the shared responsibility payment. I'm having my accountant look into it to see what's what. I'll also have something about that up on the site. So thanks for viewing, and we'll catch up with you again soon.